Hello and happy Sunday here at Unity Church of the Hills. It's December and you know what that means. Ugly Christmas sweaters. Although I really am curious, what do you guys think? Is it really ugly or is it, kind of adorable? Let me know in the comments. We would love to hear as you say hello to your fellow love streamers on Facebook or YouTube. Ugly Christmas sweater or cute? So as we get started with today's service, we want to take a moment and just remind you guys that our Sharing is Caring program continues. This Sunday, we are supporting an organization called Front Steps, and let me tell you just a bit about what they do. So Front Steps provides a pathway home for our neighbors experiencing homelessness by offering emergency shelter, affordable housing, recuperative medical care, supportive services, and community awareness. If that organization speaks to your heart, all you have to do is share today's message and we'll donate $5 for every share while we are live. Now we are going to get started with our Sunday service here in just a moment, but while I've got your attention, I wanted to remind everybody that our blessing or our giving tree is up in the foyer or foyer, however you prefer to call it, and we are supporting a number of really amazing organizations and helping to make sure that the people they serve have a fabulous Christmas. We're supporting once again Family Elder Care, Families in Transition, Foster Village, and then our own benevolence fund that we use throughout the year. The Families in Transition, which are the homeless youth in the Round Rock ISD, their gifts are due on December 11th, which is coming up this coming Friday. So if you're able to swing by the church and pick up a card, we would greatly appreciate it. If you are not, we do have an online form where you can make a donation. And you can find all of that information out at unityhills.org/blessings2020. Thank you so much. Let's get started with our Sunday service. Blessings.
Sing along with us.
It came upon a midnight clear, that glorious song of old, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold. Feast on the earth, goodwill to men, from heaven, the gracious King. The world in solemn stillness lay, to hear the angels sing. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild, God and people reconciled. Joyful all ye nations rise, join the triumph of the skies. With angelic host proclaim, Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King.
Oh, come,
All ye faithful, joyful and triumphant, O come ye to Bethlehem. Come
Good morning and welcome to Unity of the Hills in Austin, Texas. Good morning to all of you here in the sanctuary. Good morning to all of you on the pavilion, and good morning to all of you in Facebook and YouTube land. It's so great to see you all here. We hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we are so excited to be bringing you part one of a two-part message from Reverend Dr. Roger Teal on abundance this week and next week. I actually really love that we have a guest speaker in my first few weeks. It makes my job a little bit more spacious. My name is Reverend Eliza Bloom Robinson, and I am the Bridge Interim Minister while you are in the final stages of your search for your next leadership. I want to recognize anybody who may be watching today for the first time ever. Welcome. Unity is a positive path for spiritual living that honors all paths to God. Wherever you are, we'll meet you there. And if you want to know more about us, just type the word connect into the comments and an ambassador will reach out to you. There are several prayer chaplains holding space today, and we are so grateful for their service. If you would like to receive one-on-one prayer, there's a number on your screen. Just call them, leave your name and your phone number and your request, and a chaplain will call you back. Our kids, our youth, our family, our children, our angels, our teachers continue to meet virtually. Our YOU and Uniteens are also meeting in person out on the patio. So we take a moment to just focus our hearts on all of the young people and their families and their teachers. Think about those smiling faces. I miss them in the sanctuary myself, but we hold them and we behold the Christ that is in each and every one of them. You can learn more about our kids ministry, our youth ministry at unityhills.org. Just a quick update on reopening. I know it's on a lot of people's minds. We are open right now inside the sanctuary to 25 people. We have a reopening team. That team, your staff, your board, myself, we have been in conversation. We are monitoring. We are very much in alignment with the city of Austin. And as city of Austin stays at level 4, we're going to keep it exactly as it is. That brings up the question, what about Christmas? Well, we don't know. It might be exactly as it is. If it peaks, we might have to go virtual again. If it lowers, we will be in close communication with the team, the board, the staff, and myself, and we will keep you all posted. But safety is our top priority, and not from a place of fear, but from a place of really being conscious and long-term. So we all look forward to being back together in person fully and completely when the time is right. Until then, we love you, masked, elbow hugs, you know the works. So let's join together in affirming our mission statement. We put God first, celebrate life, serve truth, and empower people to transform their lives. And we take that into an opening prayer as we put God first. We open ourselves to the awareness of Spirit moving in and through each and every one of us. It is our intention today to be a blessing, that we are in service to God, in service to Unity of the Hills and beyond. It is our hope, it is our intention that you are touched by the activity of Spirit through this service and beyond. For this, we say thank you, God, and so it is, and so we begin. Amen.
We welcome now our families here in the sanctuary, out on the pavilion, and those of you at home to light the second candle of Advent, the candle of peace. We will add the beauty of this flame to that of hope and faith. The gift of perfect peace is available any moment during this season to gladden your heart and bring a smile to your face. The only condition for receiving this priceless gift is that you tune into your heart space and tune out the noise from your mind. The gift of perfect peace is a gift we all can receive. As you open your heart with the trust of a child, you too will be blessed with the perfect peace that surpasses all understanding. On this day of Advent, we affirm together the following statement: I create space between my thoughts and let my heart lead. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And all went to be taxed, every one into his own city. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea, into the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child. And so it was that while they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn.
Peace means being at peace inside, regardless of the circumstances around me. And obviously with COVID, it's been crazy. And while it may be difficult, and I don't do it every day, I try to remember who I really am as a spiritual being.
So I see peace in 2020 as residing from that place of unabiding love, of that constant God presence that's available to all of us in all moments.
Peace for me in 2020 is an inner calm. It's a place, a quiet place. It's a walk in on a gentle path in nature with the breeze flowing through the trees.
Okay, so for me, if I want peace in my life, peace always has to start within.
Every day, every minute should have the same amount of peace. And so I think peace comes with utilizing all those things around gratitude, love, hope, and faith. And then we end up in that peaceful place.
Before we look at the upcoming events, we want to spotlight our December Volunteer of the Month, Kathy Vellafuco.
I was taking a class in Unity Oaks that was the Healing of the Chakras class with Shannon, and I think I was the only person in that class that wasn't a Unity member, and everybody spoke so beautifully about the love of this in this community, so I was very enthralled. One of the members or participants in that class was Kelly Logue, Farmer Kelly, who introduced me to the community garden that had formed. And I was taken by the community aspect of people coming together to make that special space happen. And then as COVID was hitting, what an incredible opportunity to be able to volunteer in a safe environment where you're outside, you're helping things grow, and you're providing sustainable, organic food for those that are in need and wish that product. It's just a magical place and space, and I feel very fortunate to be able to be involved. The garden, as it has grown, we've started organizing, and I was asked to be part of the I guess executive team, and then we have 4 subcommittees that I'm a member of as well, and I lead the volunteer subcommittee, so we help to coordinate and recruit and provide the resources and the tasks for all these fabulous, loving, caring people that come out and help to maintain and help the garden thrive. So I used to go by here all the time and think, I'm curious. But didn't really know what a special place this was. I'm just, I know that as COVID finally gets a little bit more under control and have avenue to be more involved, I certainly intend to do so, but I find the love, the generosity of the people that I have come in contact with and coordinated with here to be just very heart touching, and I'm grateful.
Thank you so much, Kathy, for your dedicated service. We truly appreciate you. So we invite you to join Praying Chaplains today at 1 p.m. via Zoom for our gratitude circle. And then join Dr. Dan Stasek on Tuesday, December 8th at 7 p.m. for his Learn to Meditate class, where he will teach the steps of superconscious meditation. The class is offered on a love offering basis on Zoom. Reverend Eliza, Susan Heinrichs, and I spent some time with Spirit regarding our theme for Christmas 2020. And what emerged so clearly is the idea of a holy pause and the power of simplicity. We look forward to seeing how Spirit is guiding us as we center ourselves into this holy pause, and we invite you to be a part of it, as more details will be coming soon. As I mentioned in our prelude video, our blessing and giving tree out in the foyer, or foyer, however you like to say it. And once again, we are supporting families in transition, family elder care, foster village, and our own benevolence fund. The gifts for families in transition are due back on December 11th, this coming Friday. So if you are unable to come by the church, you can contribute online by visiting unityhills.org/blessings2020. And if you're here in the sanctuary, we invite you to visit the blessing tree after the service is over. So in conjunction with our blessing tree, we are focusing once again on those within our community who could use a little extra Christmas help. If that describes you or someone you know, please contact the church office or visit the Blessings 2020 webpage. And if you are in a position to offer help to one of your fellow congregants, there is a form you can complete on that same Blessings 2020 page. Our first holy pause in the Christmas season comes this Wednesday, December 9th at 7 p.m. for our reflection and remembrance service. This is a time to reflect and remember those dear to our heart, especially those who have transitioned in the past year. The service will be live streamed and the sanctuary is open for 25 congregants. We invite you to mark your calendar for Sunday, December 20th at 5:30 p.m. for our annual holiday extravaganza. This night of music and merriment is destined to bring the spirit of Christmas to life. And it will be live streamed to Facebook, YouTube, and our website. Our lap quilts, lovingly made by Joan Howes, are still available at a 25% discount, with funds going to support our Youth of Unity. We invite you to browse all the quilts at unityhills.org/quilt or in our bookstore. And finally, as the season of gift giving swings into full force, we want to remind all of you Amazon shoppers out there that the Amazon Smile program is a great way to support your spiritual home. You can sign up at smile.amazon.com and select Unity Church of the Hills. Details should be on your screen, or you can call the office if you need assistance. And now I invite you to settle in and relax as we prepare ourselves for meditation.
I invite you to take a deep breath in and close your outer eyes. And we take this holy pause, this moment of meditation right here and right now. So with each breath, simply let go. Let go of the thought. Let go of the to-do list. Let go of the emotion, even. To allow your awareness to drop into your body, your being, and this eternal now moment. And as you land into the center of your being into the center of this moment. Find a stillness. And in this stillness, there is simplicity. Let your body relax more fully. For in this moment now, you have all that you need. In this moment now, there is an abundance of all that you need. Think about the air you breathe. Think about the infinite aspect of the skies. Think about the grain of sand on a beach. Think about that ever-present power that is God, that is source, that is creation, that is infinite itself. You are part of that. Expanded, exquisite being. And in the awareness of the abundance of the universe, know that you are an important part. You are one of those grains of sand. You are one with the sky. You are one with all that is. Let that move you. Open your heart. Change your mind. And it's in this place of gratitude that we pray in the name and through the power of the living Christ presence, known as love. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
gonna keep on praying for you. You can depend on God to see you through. You can depend on me to pray for you. I see you in the future, and you look better. I see you walking in favor and prosperity too. Let me encourage you. Let me speak life to you. You can depend on God to see you through. You can depend on me to pray for you. I pray for you. You pray for me. And watch God change things. I pray for you. You pray for me. And watch God change things.
Good morning. I bring you greetings to the wonderful Unity Church of the Hills congregation. My name is Dr. Roger Teal. I've always had a really wonderful place in my heart for you all, for your beautiful church. It goes back to when Reverend Steve Bolin would ask me to present many times. And now I'm working with your Board of Trustees to support the emergence of a great, great new chapter in the life of your beautiful church. And it's also an honor for me today to present the first of 2 Sunday messages. I was delighted to be asked. And I've chosen a topic that I think is very timely. It's called The Art of Abundance, Part 1 and Part 2. And I believe this is important right now because many people are feeling like they're contracting rather than expanding, that conditions going on, and so many unprecedented ones, are really dampening their outlook on their life. So it's important to look at the art of abundance. And it's based on the proposition that you can open to limitless abundance that lies just waiting beyond your current belief system. And it is indeed an art to cultivate this sense and experience of abundance. See, many people, rather than cultivating a vibrant sense of abundance, really spend most of their time hanging out in one degree or another of worry, fear-based worry. I like this thing that I've had in my files for a long time. And the proposition is that you only have two things to worry about ever. You see, either you're successful or you're not. Now, if you're successful, you've got nothing to worry about. If you're not successful, you have only two things to worry about. Either you're healthy or you're not. Now, if you're healthy, you've got nothing to worry about. If you're not healthy, you have only two things to worry about. Either you're alive or you're not alive. Now, if you're alive, you've got nothing to worry about. Now, if you're not alive, you have only two things to worry about. Either you're going to heaven or to hell. Now, if you're going to heaven, you have nothing to worry about. However, if you're going to hell, don't worry. All your friends will be there to welcome you and show you a good time. I've always loved that. Now, thankfully, we don't believe in the location of a hell or a God that would exert a hell. But when we hang out in too much worry, we are abiding in a sense of hell. So this part one of the art of abundance, really, I want to talk about an essential ingredient. That's where we start. Now, to do this, I want to distinguish between abundance and prosperity. Abundance is the infinite life and good and potential of God. And that potential, that life, that good is everywhere present. There's no spot where God and God's abundance is not. It is what quantum science calls the infinite field of pure potentiality, and it is everywhere present. That is abundance, God's infinite givingness and life everywhere. Prosperity is my experience and your experience of that abundance. How much of that God-given infinite abundance can pass into your experience and mine is my prosperity. So I have a personal level of prosperity in the midst of an infinite abundance, which is the life of God everywhere present. It's invisible good waiting to flow forth into visible experiences and visible good, but it has to go through the essential ingredient, and that is my consciousness. Our consciousness is like the valve that allows just so much of the infinite abundance of God to flow forth into our life as our personal prosperity. And so the art of abundance is to take responsibility for our consciousness so that more of God's will for you and me, it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. More and more of God's will for you and me can flow through the outlet of our consciousness into our experience and take form as greater and greater prosperity. Prosperity of all kinds. Yes, money, but beyond that, prosperity of love, prosperity of joy, creativity, satisfaction, interests. All of the good of life is the abundance of God pouring forth. Why not have a prosperous experience of that? Let's talk a little more about consciousness. Your consciousness is the sum total of all that you have come to believe through all of your life and through all of your conscious moments. Now, your consciousness holds the imprint of every belief you've ever had, all you've ever bought into and accepted fully as true for you, true for life, accepted both consciously and even more importantly, unconsciously, because our unconscious holds more of the deep beliefs we have assembled in our life. Our conscious awareness is the tip of the iceberg, but our unconscious is the greater depths of all that we have come to believe. And so very often we have been trained and we've accumulated beliefs that are constrictive rather than expansive. It's important to work with your consciousness constantly because consciousness is causation. Consciousness is cause in your life and mine. Now, we're apt to think that things are caused by other forces and people and situations around us. And yet the most important causative factor for you and me is the way we've been thinking. both consciously and subconsciously, our consciousness. For as it is in my inner world of consciousness, so shall it be in my outer world of experience. My consciousness sets the tendencies and the patterns of my experience. And that's why there are people who are actually prospering right now, because they didn't let the pandemic and all the social challenges of life squash their creativity, squash their innovation, squash their energies. They kept wondering and creating and moving forward with a kind of vibrancy. It's a kind of freedom from the situations of life. And that's an act of consciousness. We can all have that act. We can take that step. That's why the great master teacher, Jesus, he said, as thou hast believed, so shall it be done unto you. Now, he meant that. And sometimes we pay that lip service. But working with my consciousness, meaning my deepest believing of what I've accepted as so for me, that is the key to either enchaining myself, imprisoning myself, or liberating myself. A Hindu mystic, Sri Aurobindo, wrote, consciousness is the fundamental thing in existence. It is the energy, the motion, the movement of consciousness that creates the universe and all that is in it. The microcosm and the macrocosm are nothing but consciousness arranging itself. And somebody also has said, your consciousness goes before you to declare your coming. It's like my consciousness is way out there in front of me, patterning life for me and setting up the tendencies of that which is going on for me and shall ensue for me. You see, so many have wandered afar from their true abundance, and they tend to dwell in the land of scarcity and limitation. Now, that land is ruled by a harsh and cruel ruler, fear. And that is enforced by personal unworthiness. Now, it's grounded in a lie that is like an inner virus. We're dealing with an outer virus, but it's like the inner virus in the mind of humanity, that there's not enough to go around, that somehow God's good is limited. God's good is never limited, and we can draw forth from it. All of the creative geniuses and innovators throughout history have been the ones that have pulled a greater idea forth, and out of it comes greater good for all of humanity. And we can do that. There's a higher truth that there is more than enough to go around, more than enough creative ideas, more than enough power, more than enough love, more than enough joy. And it all emerges through a mind that's aware of its own infinite nature and believes. And then it shows up for them and for all. Eventually, we learn to come home from our wandering in the land of fear and limitation and scarcity. We come home to our true place, the kingdom of ever expanding good. There's a loyal and loving ruler there, that is love. And it's in this kingdom that we experience the joy and the growth and the creativity that God intends for every one of us. You see, you didn't create yourself. I didn't create me. An infinite love and intelligence created us out of its own yearning to express more of its infinite beingness. Now, if it intended for us to be intrinsically and continually limited, it would actually be limiting itself, and that's unthinkable. So we get to open up our consciousness so that more of the divine abundance can flow into our lives as prosperity of every kind. Rumi, the Sufi poet, he said, the source is within you, and this whole world is springing up from it. The source is full, and its waters are ever flowing. Do not grieve. Drink your fill. Don't think it will ever run dry, this endless ocean. I love that so much. One of my favorite personal affirmations as a part of maintaining an abundance consciousness is this one. God is my instant, constant, and limitless supply. God is my instant, constant, and limitless supply. Having heard that, say that with me. God is my instant, constant, and limitless supply. I tell you, if you can begin to own that and practice that, embrace that, your life can begin to evolve. So I want to conclude these thoughts by sharing with you some of the ABCs of abundance consciousness. And these 4 pointers, each of the words of them there are 3 words in each phrase, start with A, then B, then C. We hope you remember that. Maybe that will support that. The first of these ABCs is abundance bathes creation. Abundance bathes creation. See, there truly is an abundance in this universe flowing forth from an infinite creative source. So there really can be no limitation or scarcity in God, in the divine life. Only the fullness of the Spirit, of its infinite beingness. Now, there's great confusion about this because the error we make is that we think the world is our source. We think jobs are our source, or investments, or the economy, or rich Aunt Tilly, or somebody like that. The truth is, God is our unlimited source. And we live, move, and have our very being in that God life, in the allness of God, in the field of infinite possibilities. But remember, as I'm saying, that God's infinite good has to flow through our consciousness if it is to become a greater experience of personal prosperity. And so you see, we don't pray for money or things. We pray to activate a consciousness expansive enough to attract and manifest our desires. We're always praying to enlarge, to empower, to enlighten our consciousness. And through that, our greater good unfolds. Dear friend of mine, Wayne Dyer, he put it this way: abundance is not something we acquire. It is something we tune into. So when I say that abundance bathes consciousness, abundance bathes creation, it is developing a consciousness that abundance is lavish. It's bathing us, and it's seeking to flow forth as ever greater expressions of light and of possibility and of good. Remember that. Abundance bathes creation. And then secondly, the second ABC, awareness builds consciousness. Awareness builds consciousness. This is deciding that we're going to emerge from the trance of scarcity. And this requires that we embrace a courageous self-awareness so that we keep our consciousness healthy, such that when the ups and downs come along in life, the unexpected, and there's been plenty of that of late, comes along, we remember to take care of our consciousness and to look at how we can expand our awareness, to ask ourselves, does a belief in not enough live in me right now? And am I willing to challenge it and take back the power that I may have unwittingly given to that? Now, this isn't an instant gratification game. It requires daily mindfulness, daily practice, daily alertness, right thinking, so that we can overcome the gravitational pull of the mass thinking that is so rooted in limitation, so rooted in negativity, so rooted in not enough. And so we build a new consciousness, one moment, one thought, one belief at a time. Awareness builds consciousness. A couple of years before my retirement from the pulpit ministry, I've got my own personal ministry going on now, but when I retired from the pulpit ministry, I always had a file of letters. And a couple of years prior to my retirement, I got this letter. Dear Dr. Roger, this is a letter of gratitude. Several years ago, my husband and I came to the church with no intentions of becoming members. We were with a friend. But that one visit started the process that has changed our life, which, by the way, I would say has happened to so many who've come into Unity churches or New Thought churches. And she goes on, we began taking all the classes we could. We both realized that we had harbored a deep hunger for God and for the realization that we live in oneness with God and that we truly are spiritual beings. This realization has blessed us in more ways than I have space to communicate. I now know what it means. The truth will set you free. Without this awareness and the faith we gained at the church, my husband and I would not have been able to deal with some major setbacks anywhere near as successfully. A year ago, I was laid off from work right after my husband quit his job to return to school so that he could begin another career. The fear was enormous. But before the church, we would have just panicked. My husband probably would have abandoned his plans, abandoned his schooling, and returned to the old job that was so unfulfilling. But after the shock, we came to our spiritual senses and decided that we would handle this spiritually. We spent many hours reading and praying, deepening our sense of the omnipresence of spirit. The fear started melting away, and we both decided to affirm God's good is expressing through me and returning to me. Within 3 weeks, I got a call from my former employer telling me of a job he had heard about with another company. He said I'd be perfect for it. I interviewed and got this job within 3 days. It pays me much more than my former position. Now we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that our abundance is an inside job. Thank you for teaching that we can trust the presence and power of God within us. Awareness builds consciousness, and it's a practice. It's a practice of melting away the fear that can seep in, and it happens to us all, and building up that consciousness that lets the right ideas, the right opportunities come forth. And I pause to say what a blessing it was that she received that through these New Thought teachings. And I invite you to be mindful of the importance of Unity Church of the Hills, the work that it's doing for young people and for all of the congregation. And remember to support this church ongoingly in this time, and especially at this season of enhanced giving. You will be a blessing as you do. And that will be an expression of the awareness that builds consciousness in you. The third ABC, activate bold creativity. These last two are practices. It's important to activate bold creativity, to open to new ideas, to higher ideas. That's the basis for greater prosperity. You see, ideas are the gold coin of God. I'm remembering that experience in the Bible where the tax collector came to the disciples and wanted them to pay the taxes. And they went to Jesus and say, hey, big guy, you know, we don't have any money. You give it all away. And they want the taxes paid. What are we going to do? And Jesus said, go to the lake and fish. And with the first fish you catch, open the mouth. We'll pay the taxes. I'm sure the disciples went away thinking, oh, he's been out in the sun way too long. He wants us to go fish when we've got to pay the taxes. But they were obedient, so they went and they cast a line in the water, and it wasn't long before they felt a tug and they caught a fish and they opened its mouth, and in it was a gold coin that more than paid the taxes. Now that's a metaphor with deep, rich spiritual symbology. First of all, a fish is a symbol of a high spiritual idea, a significant, powerful spiritual idea. And in the mouth always of a great spiritual idea is God's good. And that gold coin represents the ideas that come to us and can prosper us in our lives. You see, again, we don't need more money, more opportunity, more this or more that. Always what we need is a bigger idea. And we need to open. We need to let go of our sense that we know it all and open to the mind that knows so much more than we do. We're a part of that. And activate a bold creativity. First, by being receptive to a higher idea. Maybe it's an out-of-the-box idea. And then we can activate it and go forth boldly. A powerful ABC. And one more ABC that's a practice. Always bless circumstances. You see, at times like these, we can get very critical, skeptical, and down. And it's important, if we're going to expand our consciousness, to take deliberate action within consciousness. And that when stuff happens, when the changes, the fluctuations, the losses occur, we cannot afford to give over control of our consciousness to how things appear, which is perhaps why we're enjoined to judge not, lest we be judged. Don't judge by appearances, but judge righteous judgments. Judgments that are spiritually based. Now, the root of the word to bless, when we talk about always bless circumstances, that root word is to confer prosperity upon. When you bless a situation that the human thinking thinks is depleted, is all about loss or defeat, when we bless it, what we're saying is God's good still exists right there. That situation at the level of conditions has not closed the door on the greater ideas and givingness of God. And therefore, we can bless the situation from a higher perspective, from our hearts that know that the divine is ever leading us into greater and greater good so that our cup overflows. All right? And so even if we walk through the valley of the shadow of loss, or of death, or of fear, or of restriction, or of breakdown, thou art always with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. So it's a powerful stand to bless a situation as a way of calling forth the greater good beyond human assessment, beyond human judgments. This is staying spiritually strong and active. And sometimes we have to do it even though everything within us and around us is shouting out, oh, it's this terrible, it's awful. Well, at that one level, it may seem that way. But you are given spiritual authority, and you're involved in a spiritual teaching that is calling forth your mastery. So stay in touch with that abundance. Have the insight to bless it and call forth the greater good. I want to close with one true illustration of a lady named Janine Roth. She's the author of Women, Food, and God, which is a bestseller, and she's teaching women and men about a different relationship with food, and that's a big issue for many in terms of finding their true inner wholeness. Well, in 2008, she and her husband, Matt, were one of the thousands who invested their entire life savings with New York financier Bernie Madoff. Maybe you've heard of that. It was discovered that he was running a $65 billion Ponzi scheme, the largest fraud in U.S. history. And Janine and Matt lost everything they'd invested. All their money gone. And she was in shock. And then she cried. Then she raged and she felt doomed, eventually feeling shame that she didn't know this and that she was foolish enough to invest everything. But later she declared it was one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life. Because in losing everything, 30 years of life savings gone, I had to focus on what I had, not what I didn't have. Because there was no way of getting through the night with the terror of that loss. I realized that if I was going to live, if I was going to sleep, if I was going to exist, I had to bring my mind back from the terror and start focusing on what was good. And I had to be fierce about it. There was no choice. Otherwise, I would careen off into such grief, terror, and shame, and that was not a way to live. Well, friends told her that she needed to focus on what she had enough of and not on what they'd lost. So she started doing that, and even in a very basic way. She writes, I would say to myself, I have this cup. I have this water. I have arms. I have legs. I have breath. I have a husband I love, a roof over my head. And the most amazing thing happened. Within about a week, I found myself happier than I had been in years. It happens when you start seeing what you have and not what you don't have. What's good and not what's wrong. She did this courageous woman, Janine. She did this even though their beautiful home was mortgaged to the hilt and might be lost to them. They were in great debt on a home equity line of credit, and they had a luxury car that they owned a huge amount of money on. She continues by writing, I gained confidence in myself after a week that my mind could go to the brink of terror and I could bring it back. And that for the rest of my life, no matter what terrible thing ever happened, I saw that if I was conscious about noticing what I did have, not what I didn't have, what was good, that would change my mind, my experience, my whole life. Always blessed circumstances. So this soon became an everyday practice for Janine, and she became happier and happier. And she concludes in writing about this experience, Madoff couldn't steal what was good. The everyday goodness, the sheer magnificence of trees, earth, my body, of my partner. If you don't have this kind of spiritual practice, you're lost. Let's not be lost. Let's not wander in the kingdom of scarcity and limitation. Let's come home. Let's be found and come home to the kingdom of ever-expanding good. You see, Janine then, based on this inner recovery and this ability to bless what was and what she had, she went on to write this bestseller that I told you about. She has written other books. She's appeared on Oprah, and she is a tremendous success. And so always bless circumstances. What circumstances are calling to be blessed by you now? Maybe you've been begrudging them, fearing them, grieving them. And that's normal. Bless yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. Now it's time to start blessing that which you have so that you can expand your abundance consciousness. And as you do, you shall expand your prosperity experience. And you'll find that the divine life never gives up on you. It never runs out. And you can be the portal through which the light and the good and the abundance of God streams forth. And I bless you in that. Next week, I'll talk about part 2. And there's another thing that we can do that's all important. I bless you as you practice the art of abundance. Let's take a moment and just simply know the mighty presence of the living Spirit, that living Spirit that is all good, all God, that is the arena of infinite ideas, the impulse of every aspect of life, and the light that shines in you and me as our true self. All we let go of fear and worry, and we open our hearts this day to this vibrant Spirit, birthless, deathless, changeless Spirit. And as we know that we are rooted in this divine abundance, our consciousness begins to expand. We realize that abundance bathes creation. We take over the reins of our awareness, for awareness builds consciousness. And this day we activate bold creativity, and we make the vital choice to always bless circumstances. And as we practice these ABCs, I absolutely know that life flows forth to the point of our request, at the point of our need, and blesses us and prospers us in love, in activity, in interest, in money, in that which is required for a happy, healthy life, in all that we would desire, that our dreams, which are the breath of the Spirit unfolding uniquely as us, might come into fruition. And I give thanks that the fields are white already unto the harvest. As we accept this truth, the harvest of greater good is on its way. It's established in mind and unfolding in our lives. Thank you, Divine Spirit, for this love, for this consciousness, and for all that we enjoy in life. We bless it and prosper it all. And so we let it be, and so it is. Amen. See you next Sunday.
Oh, thank you, Roger Teal. That was beautiful, wasn't it? The thing I wrote down is, God is my instant, constant, limitless supply. I think that we all can take that into our life and our being. So we've come to the time in our service where we do have the opportunity to give back to our spiritual home and to show our love and support for this amazing place, as Roger mentioned. By the way, we want to give gratitude for all of the people who participated in the Giving Tuesday. It was on Facebook and beyond, and we raised over, or almost, very, very close to $4,000 on that Giving Tuesday. So we celebrate that with great gratitude and abundance as we open our minds beyond the box. You cannot outgive God. And we have many ways to give here at Unity of the Hills. You can text UCOH to 77977. You can give online, through the website, through Facebook. You can give in our app, and you can mail a check. You can even drop a check off if you want to come and wave at us. We accept every way possible. We know that as you give, so you are blessed tenfold. And as you give, so you are blessed. And as you are blessed, you're stepping outside of the boxes into a greater awareness of abundance. So together, let's say our offering affirmation. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I circulate, and I am grateful. And so it is.
There's a reason that the lights are shining. There's a reason that the wreaths are hung. There's a reason that songs of joy and peace are being sung. Oh, yes. There's a reason for the celebration. There's a reason that the silver bells ring. There's a reason for the season, and the reason is Christ the King. That the lights are shining. There's a reason that the wreaths are hung. There's a reason songs of joy and peace are being sung. Yes. There's a reason for the celebration. There's a reason that the silver bells ring. There's a reason for the season, and the reason is Christ the King. Oh, there's a reason. There's a reason. Oh, there's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason. Yes, there's a reason. The Creator came down from glory to set us free. Oh, He came to bring us hope eternal, and hope can change everything. There's a reason for the season, and the reason is Christ the King. There's a reason for the tinsel and holly, and all the decorations on the tree. There's a reason for the time we spend with our family. Oh, it's a glorious heavenly party that goes beyond the reds and greens. There's a reason for the season, and the reason is Christ the King. Oh, yes, there's a reason. There's a reason. The Creator came down from glory to set us free. Oh, He came to bring us hope eternal, and hope can change everything. There's a reason for the season, and the reason is Christ the King. There's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason. Yes, there's a reason. There's a reason. Yes. There's a reason. There's a reason. Yes, there's a reason.
Just a quick reminder that the blessing tree is out in the foyer and online, and the gifts for families in transition are due back on Friday, December 11th. You can learn more at unityhills.org/blessings2020. And a reminder that this Wednesday, December 9th, is our first official holy pause for the Christmas season with our reflection and remembrance service at 7 p.m. The sanctuary is available for up to 25 folks. You can RSVP online. And we do have angels out in the foyer. If there's someone that you want to honor on the tree, you can write their name on the back of one of those angels and either come and hang them yourself, or we'll be happy to hang them for you. Following our prayer for protection, Reverend Eliza and I will be going deeper into Dr. Teal's message. So be thinking about what questions you might want to ask Reverend Eliza. And then finally, we will make sure we are done in time for the Gratitude Circle, which is on Zoom today at 1 p.m., led by our fabulous praying chaplains. Reverend Eliza, would you be so kind as to lead us in our prayer for protection?
And will you join us together? The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. God bless you. Have a beautiful week.
Hello, and welcome to this week's announcements. Join our praying chaplains on Sunday, December 6th at 1 p.m. for our monthly gratitude circle, and start your week off in a vibration of gratitude.
And then on Tuesday, December 8th at 7 p.m., you're invited to join Dr. Dan Stasiak for his Learn to Meditate class. By the end of the class, you'll be able to go through the steps of superconscious meditation from the Institute of the Himalayan Tradition and practice them at home. Dr. Dan's class is offered on a love offering basis via Zoom.
Well, would you look at that? We've covered Unity's fourth principle with our first two announcements. There is divine power in meditation and affirmative prayer, which increases our awareness of our oneness with God. This year's Christmas theme, Holy Pause, the power of simplicity, is also centered in Unity's fourth principle.
You'll hear more about our Christmas Eve and Burning Bowl services next week. But for now, just know that our worship planning team is committed to creating meaningful ways to bring Christmas to life in the midst of this pandemic.
Our annual blessing tree is up in the foyer as well as online. We are once again supporting family elder care, families in transition, Foster Village, and our own UCOH Benevolence Fund.
Whether you come by the church or donate online, please know that some of our gifts are due back by December 15th. So there is some urgency around supporting these organizations and ensuring the people they serve have a blessed Christmas.
In addition to the angel cards, we have a special tree in the foyer where you can leave prayers, affirmations, and gratitudes. If you can't come by the church but want to put something on that tree, or just have questions about the blessing tree for 2020, please email communications@unityhills.org.
We all know how challenging the holidays can be, and especially for those experiencing financial difficulties. This year may bring added challenges for those affected by the pandemic.
If you would like to bless an individual or family within our community, please register online and someone will contact you. This may be inviting someone over for a meal, providing grocery store gift cards or Christmas gifts, or providing monetary support. Whatever spirit leads you to do is right and perfect.
And if you or someone you know within the church could use holiday assistance, please let us know right away. You can contact the church at communications@unityhills.org, or we have a form online.
All of our blessing information can be found at unityhills.org/blessings2020.
Speaking of blessings, don't forget that our lap quilts, lovingly made by the mother of Yuko, Joan Howes, are on sale at a 25% discount as a fundraiser for our Youth of Unity, or YOU. Whether you buy a quilt for yourself or as a gift, or both, you'll be blessing our Youth of Unity in the process. Visit unityhills.org/quilt for more details.
Did you know that Amazon has a program called Amazon Smile that lets you choose a nonprofit organization, and then a percentage of all your purchases goes to that organization?
If you are an Amazon shopper, please take a moment to set up Amazon Smile. It's an easy way to support our spiritual home financially.
Visit smile.amazon.com. Sign in with your Amazon credentials. Choose or search for Unity Church of the Hills, and then select Unity Church of the Hills as your charity. Then make sure you shop through smile.amazon.com. You can even update your smartphone app to be the Amazon Smile app if that's how you shop.
And for the record, this announcement was not endorsed by Amazon.
It was, however, endorsed by Unity Church of the Hills.
Yes, it was.
Shifting gears from shopping back into the holy pause of Christmas, you are invited to join Reverend Belinda Lightheart, Reverend Mary Grace Sorensen in several LUTs for our annual Reflection and Remembrance service on Wednesday, December 9th at 7 p.m.
This is a time to pause, breathe, and to honor our loved ones who have transitioned, along with all of the emotions around their passing. Even if you have not experienced the loss of a loved one, many have experienced some kind of loss this year. We invite you to join us in this sacred space as we honor and heal together.
The sanctuary will be open for a limited number of in-person congregants, and it will be streamed to Facebook, YouTube, and our website. Please RSVP if you plan to join us in the sanctuary. Masks will be required, and we will follow safety protocols.
There will be angels to adorn the tree during a special ceremony. You can download angels at home for your own tree or come by the church to pick up some prior to the service. Learn more on our Yuko calendar and join us for this holy pause on Wednesday, December the 9th.
Lucky for me, holy pauses aren't always serious and silent. Spirit loves to sing, dance, and be in joy. As spiritual beings, we are invited to pause from the doozy of a year it has been and center ourselves in merriment with this year's holiday extravaganza.
Mark your calendar for Sunday, December 20th at 5:30 p.m. It will be live streamed to Facebook, YouTube, and our website. And it will be a holy pause of fun because we most definitely need a little Christmas.
Finally, our latest episode of the One Power podcast features an interview with Dr. Roger Teal, this Sunday's guest speaker. In the episode, Tammy Lorraine and Rick Busby talk with Dr. Roger about answering the call. It's a fascinating interview and it's worth a listen. Find this episode as well as past episodes at onepowerpodcast.com. And you can help us spread the word by leaving a review or rating the podcast on your favorite podcast player.
Well, that's it for announcements. We hope you find time for a holy pause, or 2 or 3 or 10, as you move about your week. Peace and blessings, everyone.
Bye. See you in the foyer soon.
Foyer.
Foyer.
I'm going to start that one over. And also, hold on. Sam, what are you eating?
Oh, good. My eye was twitching, and I was like blinking and blinking and blinking. I'm like, oh, this is going to look like so weird.
Did you guys hear the pig in the background?
Your dog? Yeah.
So everybody's doing questions.
I did mute at one point, but I don't know how much it helped. Hi, Sam. There's another Sam. See me? Say hi.
Oh, wait, and Donna went to go get her dog.
These are all our dogs.
Hey, here's Sadie.
Sadie's and Sam's. Yay!
All right, everyone. We hope you enjoyed our announcement video, especially the outtakes at the end. I always think those are a little bit fun. But we are back, and we are going to go a little bit deeper into Dr. Teal's message. I thought a good place to start, Reverend Eliza, would just be, what were some of your key takeaways?
Well, it was a fabulous talk. I really, it was just great. I hadn't heard Roger for a long time. But the thing I wrote down, I put it on the other page, the instant, constant, and limitless supply. There's such a feeling to that of like just interrupting any pattern that we might have of lack and just like, oh yeah, it's instant, it's constant, and it's limitless.
Loved that.
I mean, I just wrote down some notes, partly because I knew we were going to have this conversation, right? When he talked about the inner virus.
Yeah, as fear.
As fear. We're dealing with an outer virus.
Right.
But the outer is always manifestation of the inner.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote down where he said, what was it? Your consciousness goes before you to declare what's coming.
Yeah.
So that's it. It's if we don't get a hold of that inner virus, what are we declaring?
Right.
Yeah, well, and I know you say, notice what you notice a lot, which made me think about his, one of the ABCs about awareness builds consciousness. So I don't know if you want to talk any more about that or if you had some other ahas.
Yeah, let's jump into that one. I do say notice what you notice a lot. You knew I said that a lot before we ever met.
Right, I picked up on it right away. I love it.
But it is about that because that inner virus of fear and of separation it's permeated in our unconscious.
Right.
So as soon as we become conscious of the unconscious, then we're not unconscious anymore.
Yes, yes. Say that again.
As soon as we become conscious, aware of, noticing what's in our unconscious, then we're not unconscious anymore. It's like bringing it out of the dark into the light. Once it's in the light, then you can do something with it. Then you are conscious of what you're thinking. So he said awareness builds consciousness.
Yeah.
When you become aware of what's in your conscious or your subconscious or your unconscious, then you can change it.
Yes, there's power in that for sure. So I've got a question. Please talk a little more about consciousness as cause. So I don't know if there's...
Yeah.
That could be a whole Sunday talk, I'm sure.
That could be a whole series.
Yes, right.
That could be 2021.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so basically, in a nutshell, our third principle, right, in unity is that what we think about is what we experience.
Yes.
Now, you take that a bit deeper from what we think about to what we vibrate is what we see. You take that a step deeper, it is our consciousness that is behind and over and above and in front of.
Right.
The thought, the vibration.
Yeah.
So as we are building consciousness, so to speak, as we are expanding into an abundance consciousness, a prosperity consciousness, then we begin to notice all the places in the subconscious that are lack.
Yeah.
So say that question again, and I'll
it was just
come in
to
another
talk a
direction.
little more about consciousness as cause, which it sort of seems like I think you've done a great job sort of explaining that for sure.
Right, right. So let me say it just one more way, right? Kind of the same way again.
Yeah.
How we be determines what we see, which determines what we do, which determines what we have.
Yes.
But how we be is our consciousness.
Yes.
So when we be lack and limitation and worry and fear, what do we see more of?
Yeah, more of
When
that.
we be oneness and allness and abundance and connected to spirit, we might see lack and limitation, but we don't be it.
Right, right.
And then when we be abundance and oneness and consciousness and awake, then we do it.
Yeah.
And then we have it. be to have.
Yeah, so that leads me to a question around how do we deprogram or extricate ourselves from the collective consciousness that's out there trying to, be in lack, that's being lack? Like, I mean, and I know it's awareness, but are there any other go-to kind of practices that you use to like make sure you're not being programmed by that lack consciousness in the world?
Yeah, so the simplest way to do that is notice what you notice.
Yeah.
Right? But the simplest way to do that is when you begin to notice what you notice, when you begin to be aware of your being and of your body. Like sometimes the body is a great place to begin to become aware of, because if you start to notice that your stomach's clenched, or your shoulders are in your ears,
right,
or your jaws clenched, another clenched, right? Then you can go, oh wait, my body's off. What's going on in my mind?
Yeah.
Right? But you also begin to notice that there is what we call mass consciousness. That collective consciousness.
Right.
And there is, Roger talked about that, get out of the mental mind into the divine mind, get into a bigger idea.
Yeah.
Now this isn't new, right? This is what we've been teaching in Unity since the 1800s.
Right.
But tap into that place that is bigger than the issue or the challenge or the worry or the fear.
Yeah.
And then when you land in that place, it is as if you are lifted from mass consciousness to a higher consciousness where your perspective changes.
Yeah.
And when your perspective changes, your vibration changes, your thoughts can change, you can see, you can feel, but you're not bound, you're not imprisoned by collective consciousness.
Awesome. Thank you. Wonderful.
And I think that's our work, right?
Yeah,
that's
that is our
what
work.
we are here to do.
Yeah.
In this breakthrough moment in time.
Yeah. Well, and when he was telling that story about Janine Roth, it kind of, in a weird sort of way, reminded me of Viktor Frankl's work, where it's like our freedom is in our capacity to change our own minds, to be free. I mean, it's one thing to be free of the collective, but it's a whole other thing to free yourself from your own imprisoned thinkingness,
It's a whole other thing, but what if it's exactly the same?
Okay, yeah, right. I guess freedom's freedom.
Well, our unconscious is part of the collective. The collective is part of our unconscious.
Yeah.
Like our socialization has become part of the collective.
Yep.
So when we find that point of freedom, that was such a powerful story, wasn't it?
Right, yeah.
And what did he say?
It.
Like within a week,
I think
she found that freedom.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and then within like 3 weeks, she had the job.
Yeah.
It's like that's how fast the universe responds to that alignment with the abundance of the universe.
Right. Because consciousness is not bound by time and space. God is not bound by time and space.
Yeah.
Nor by any situation, no matter how hard it looks.
I love that. So what advice might you have for anybody who in this moment is kind of stuck in some worry and fear? Or in, I guess more, I think the better question is, what recommendation do you have for that liminal space between I've changed my consciousness and it's showing up in the world? Because sometimes it is 3 weeks, but sometimes, it takes longer. So I don't know where I'm going with that question, but hopefully you do.
Well, and sometimes that 3 weeks can be eternity.
Yeah.
Right? Because we've all been there. We've all been caught in that space, whether it's fear or worry or dis-ease, in your own physicality or a loved one's. It's a hard place to be. But the way through it is call your prayer chaplains.
Yes.
The way through it is to rely on your friends, those of us who can lift you up, who know the truth of who you are. The truth of who you are, you may be having an experience, but it's not the truth of who you are. You are not limited by that experience. Call Silent Unity. I'm sure we have that number everywhere.
Yeah.
And know that this is a moment in humanity, right? You're having a human experience. Now, what we don't want to do is dismiss the humanity.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, my brother-in-law was tragically killed in February of this year. It was the hardest thing that my family's ever gone through. And then my dad died a couple of months ago, too. So we've had a tough year. We've had all kinds of things, but those were the two big ones. And I knew in that moment, I was in New Zealand. I was on a cruise, and I got this phone message. I'm like, I couldn't get home.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't get home. I mean, it took us, we were literally in the same 24-hour period for 48 hours because of the time zone. Anyway, but here's what I knew. I knew that I'm the one in my family that holds that space, and I knew I could not do it because I was having my humanity. But I reached out to my team, you know, my prayer partners. I reached out. I said, know the truth for me. And sometimes the truth is, I know you can get through this.
Yeah.
I know you can get through this. We've used, I know we're going to wrap up here in a minute, but we've used for many of our 7 kids, thank God that child has found their way.
Yeah.
Right? Over the course of their lifetimes, right? Thank God that I found my way through. And to know that you're held, that you're not alone, that you will get through it. And sometimes life on this planet is just really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't make you wrong or bad. It's just that you're going through a human experience. But there's more than that.
Right.
It's there's something bigger than that. And you will get through, and you will come through, and you will find the blessings, just as that woman in the story did.
Yeah. I think that's a beautiful place for us to wrap up, unless you have some other closing thoughts.
No, this is fun to dive into Roger's head, isn't it?
I love it. I love it. So we'll do this again next week for part 2 of Dr. Teal's message. So as you're listening to his message, be thinking about questions for Reverend Eliza. And in the meantime, just a reminder that we do have the Gratitude Circle here in 6 minutes on Zoom. So hop over there and be in a vibration of gratitude.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you, Reverend Eliza.
Thank you,
Love
everyone.
you guys. Peace and
Bye.
blessings.